I want to start with just introducing our panel of presenters and maybe just a couple of topics that we're going to present on. Myself, Steve Richter with Frontier Precision. I'm going to be presenting on what's new with Trimble Access and the Trimble V10, as well as UAS or unmanned aircraft systems. We also have Nathan Kupfer that will be presenting today on Trimble Business Center version 3.40 and some of those features. We have Dustin Har, who will be presenting on the Trimble RealWorks software and the new M7V, as well as Danielle Bailey. She'll be presenting on Trimble InSphere. So we have a few of us presenting today. We'll kind of bounce around a little bit and give you the ability to listen to not just my boring voice. There we go. So the agenda, kind of similar to the panel of speakers here, is going to be Trimble Business Center 3.40, new features with Trimble Access, and that version is 2014.20, Trimble RealWorks 9.0, the M7V mobile imaging system, what's new with Trimble InSphere, as well as this new Trimble UX5 FAA UAS exemption. We'll be talking about that here at the end of the session. Okay. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Nathan Kupfer. He's going to talk for a few moments about Trimble Business Center 3.40. Go ahead, Nate, whenever you're ready.
All right. Thanks, Steve. So we're going to start off by talking about some of the major advancements Trimble Business Center 3.4. We have more than 40 new features in TBC 3.4, so it's a pretty major release compared to 3.3. Some of the things we're going to talk about today is Trumbull Vision, General Survey, Contour Labeling Corridors, the new Advanced Drafting Module, and some other small improvements. So let's start off with Trumbull Vision. For those of you that are using your S6s and V10 units, so there's some nice additions to that with the Trimble Vision export into Google SketchUp, being able to draw and measure on station views, and some improved adjustment success and reliability. So with the Trimble Vision to SketchUp, we can now go in and directly model on our images inside of TBC, as well as enhanced Google SketchUp export. We can now take our photo stations and our points and export those out into Google SketchUp. We can also use the points to define the axis on our sketches. So one of the things that's a good advance for Trimble Vision is being able to draw and measure on our station views. This also allows us to utilize vertical planes. It's great for facade reconstructions. We can now define a depth plane, and we can also create line strings from our station views, as well as measure on the station views that are taken from your S6 or V10. The next topic we will visit is the general survey workflow. One of the big things that we put in the 3.4 that a lot of people have been asking is the traverse adjustment. Most of us are used to using the traverse adjustment in Trimble Access. Now we have the capability of doing the traverse adjustment in TBC, and it allows us to do the compass rule method or the transit rule method, and it also gives us the capability of printing out the traverse adjustment reports in TBC. So this is a pretty big update for those of you that like to use the traverse adjustment in Trimble Access. So we also now have the capability to export our raw data to RyanX. We can export those to the 3 versions, 2.1, 2.11, and 3.02. This is a nice addition to 3.4. Most of us are used to using the standalone convert to RyanX utility. We now added that in, and if you go into TBC under Files and Tools, you can convert to RyanX to utility is placed there for ease of use. One of the things that we're seeing more and more out in the field today is customers using sonar mites or depth sounders to go on and collect data on your lakes and rivers. So they added in mirroring elevations so that we can see and edit that information in 3.4 as well. Some of the updates on the CAD deliverables and interoperability is next. Just a little housekeeping they did here is it used to be old Create Contours is now just called Create Quick Contours. So here's a big one that's a great feature. We can now label contours by crossing. So you can see here that you've got these lines highlighted in green, and as we're going across the contours, it allows us to put in the elevations automatically. And we can also move those elevations wherever we would like to see them on the contour lines. So this is something that people have been asking for quite some time. We can now go in and we can browse the data marketplace. We can go in and see background data and things like that you can grab. Some of the information is free, others are paid for, but it just helps add value to the GPS or total station data that you've collected out in the field. For those of you that are doing pipelines, we can now export pipeline attributes to a CSV file right in 3.4. Some improved corridor workflow improvements. So this is nice. This is something that most guys are used to doing in Trimble Access. It allows us to create our templates and to be able to reuse them in different projects within TBC. You'll also now be able to go in and move to the next computed station in 3.4. Just makes it easier to go in and check out your templates as you're creating them. This is a nice feature. Those of you that create or have your templates or your roads created in an Excel format, you can now copy and paste that information directly into TBC to help improve your workflow speed and get things moving to the field quicker. We can now use negative side slopes inside of TBC. So now we've got the new advanced drafting module that you can add this to TBC if you're looking at using TBC for more functionality. And this can be added to basic, complete, or advanced versions of the software. So we can go in and we can define our grid labels and ticks for the plan sheets. We can also use the DynaView boundary collection. This allows us to cover a large area with a fixed scale. So a little summary on 3.4. Again, there's over 30 new features and enhancements. Some of the major improvements that we covered is traverse adjustment, the data marketplace, your CAD GIS deliverables, and then the Trimble system support. TBC 3.4 is available now. As long as you are on support, you can head out to the Trimble website and download 3.4. So with that, I will hand it back over to Steve to give us a little rundown on what's new.
Okay, great, Nate. Thanks for that information. There's a couple of new things in there. Hopefully some of you can pick up on that. That will help you in your day-to-day work, especially when working with Trimble Business Center software. What we're going to do is we're going to shift our focus slightly to some of the field stuff, so to speak. The 4 improvements that we've identified here for this little session of the presentation is a new product called the Trimble Geo 7X. Some of you may have heard of it if you're working with mapping and GIS equipment, but we call it the Geo 7X with Access. We're going to introduce a new robotic target to you and talk about the improvements, Trimble Access version 2014.20, which is the latest version of Trimble Access, 2014.20. And then also just cover some of the V10 improvements for those of you that are interested or using the V10 imaging rover. Okay. So what is the Trimble Geo 7 with Access? Well, basically it is the same box that has been used with the Trimble mapping products for about a year, called the Geo 7X. What they've done is they've loaded the Trimble Access survey software on it, though, instead of the mapping software, to give users the ability to go out with a handheld device and get centimeter solutions when using a VRS correction. This isn't a base rover type of scenario with this box. This is only used with VRS, but essentially you can hook up to a VRS network, use a handheld like you see here, and get centimeter type of accuracy. As well as use some of the features within the Geo, like the cellular modem, the 5 megapixel camera to take photography stuff just like you do with, say, a TSE3 or a tablet, and also geotag those images. So that is a new product now from Trimble. Another new product is the new AT360 robotic target. You can see this target here from this image doesn't have any prisms, so it allows you to use a target that's much lighter, some enhanced tracking features as well as more accuracy, especially in the vertical component, than the MT1000, and it definitely complements that MT1000 prism as a lighter, better tracking, more accurate target. Trimble Access 2014.2, I've just broken it up into a couple of different segments. The first improvement segment that I'm going to talk about here are the staking improvements. So this would be for road stakeout, alignment stakeout, line, arc, and point stakeout. The biggest thing is this graphical road stakeout, which basically changes entirely the stakeout workflow for staking out roads. So if you're using a road stakeout with Trimble Access today, with Trimble Access 2014.20, they've pretty much totally revamped it with this graphical road stakeout. Now, that said, you can still use the traditional method, but after seeing this new graphical method when staking roads, you may change quickly. So we've dedicated an entire webinar to this. We have it scheduled for February 2nd, so make sure to visit our website when you're done if you want to see more information on this this new feature. It's pretty jazzy. I think most users will definitely like this. They did add the stakeout ability now to reference the sun for your stakeout rather than north. So if you're in an area where it's very difficult to get a bearing base, you can pop it over to the sun. You can see the sun visually, and you can stake out relative to the sun. So that is a feature that's just a quick snap in Trimble Access when you're in the stakeout menu. They've added the forward-backward to delta display, so now you can stake out relative to forward and back. And another new feature is when you're staking out a line, traditionally you had the ability to stake out between 2 points, or if you predefined a line, maybe it was on a DXF file, or maybe you just said, I want to stake out this line that you defined in the key in portion of General Survey. Now you can choose a third method, and that is stake out line by azimuth. So you can define a point and then an azimuth, and then that will be your line, and that you can stake out to that. And that can be used for a lot of instances where you just have a single point and you want to stake out relative to that single point. The other category that I have here for Trimble Access improvements is just your general improvements. One of the features that they've added here is the ability to configure your job properties. Right now you can configure a template in Trimble Access and save that template that will define maybe the units of measure. Maybe you want to define that you're working in state plane. Maybe you want to define that in that template you're working in state plane at ground. Things like that, which you can do in previous versions of Trimble Access. But what the job properties configuration file allows you to now do is define all those job properties, like what the datum is that I'm using, who the user is, things like that. And that job properties can be configured by one data collector, and now there's a file in your system files for those job properties that can be copied from one controller to the other, or to others that maybe want to be in the same property setup. So you can now configure that and copy it to multiple controllers. Another new feature that quite honestly I've been asking for as long as I can remember is the ability to add rover frequencies while you're in the field. So traditionally, if you wanted to add frequencies, UHF frequencies to your RTK rover, you would have to hook it up to the computer, and in the computer you can modify the frequencies, add them, things like that. Now you can do that right in the field under your settings screen of your survey style. When you go in there, you can go ahead and add rover frequencies. You cannot add base station frequencies, however, but you can certainly add rover frequencies. A new feature when running, especially with the S6 or S8 or S-Series total stations, you can store or reorient your station setup. So this is very, very nice for those of you that maybe bumped the tripod, or maybe I took a break and the instrument went into standby mode. Rather than having to redo the station setup, I just need to store or reorientate and take a backside reading. You can do that now without having to go back to the instrument or anything like that. So that is now in the station setup. And then lastly, when you hook up Trimble Access, whether it's with the TSE3 or with Geo 7X or with your tablet, the TAME or Trimble Access Installation Manager interface is revamped. So you'll see a different screen. It's much more intuitive, a little easier to understand and use. All right, the next improvement is on the what's new, Trimble V10. The V10 imaging rover came out about 16 months ago or so, and it was introduced as a high accuracy mapping or surveying device that can capture high quality images, and from those images we can basically triangulate very accurate positions. So essentially I can go outside and I can capture an intersection from several different locations or several different points of view, and from those points of view I can go into Trimble Business Center and I can create positions on those points of interest from those high quality images. One of the things that they've added to that V10 imaging rover is the ability to now use a high dynamic range or HDR technology. And that technology in a nutshell allows me to improve my image quality by working in variable lighting conditions much better. So for instance, this thing is going to take a 360-degree camera image. Some of those images may be in direct line of the sun, and some of them may be in a shadow area or something like that. And if I bring those images back into Trimble Business Center and I view them, some of the images may look washed out, some of them may look dark. Well, what the HDR does is essentially evens out the lighting conditions in those images so that they're much easier to see, which essentially allows me to find those positions on the images that I want to capture much more readily and easily. And that can be an upgrade to existing V10. So the existing V10 users out there could do that upgrade to HDR here with a computer to the firmware of the V10. A couple other improvements that they've added, and HDR, by the way, is a real big one, is the ability to run the V10 without additional sensors. So if I go out there and again assume the same intersection type of application, and I pop in some points around my intersection with my total station or with my RTK rover, I can come back later with the V10, occupy those same positions and take imagery and work with them in TBC. So that can be done either from some known points or from known points and distances. Maybe it's inside a building and I want to get some interior stuff. I can just pop some points in with my total station and occupy it quickly with my V10 and capture those panels with those known points and adjust it later in TBC. So, so that would be collecting data without straight away using the RTK or the robotic total station. And then there's also some improved adjustments within TBC. They're now using what's called a ransack, optimized ransack, a tie point collection, which will essentially allow me to collect more accurate data in a linear form. So if my information that I'm trying to collect is along, say, a riverbank or a roadway that is linear, I can still shoot those observations, collect the imagery with the V10, and TBC will do a much better job of tying those points and those photos together with more accurate, consistent results because it's using this technique. They've also created an ADA PedRamp process. We're going to focus some time and some demonstration to that in a follow-up webinar on February 23rd. So just like the follow-up webinar on the 2nd for graphical stakeout, we're doing a follow-up webinar on the V10, and we're also going to show some of this PedRamp workflow on our webinar for February 23rd. So if you have that application in your tool box or within your organization, you want to see what that workflow may look like, make sure you go to our website and sign up for that February 23rd webinar. Okay, I talked about that. And what we'll do now is we'll turn it over to Mr. Dustin Har. He's going to discuss RealWorks 9.0 and the M7V for a few moments. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dustin.
Okay, thank you, Steve. So I wanted to share some of the updates that were released in RealWorks version 9. This is a pretty significant upgrade. There's over 40 new features. A lot of them you'll see are navigation and visualization. I'll also tie in with some of the stuff Nate said in regards to TBC and how now this is integrating with SketchUp. Talk a little bit about some third-party hardware support, some new tools in the software, and then a new module as well. One of the first features that was released is it's called Dynamic Point Display. Essentially, this allows you to not have to decide how many points you want to load. As you zoom in on an object or an area, the software will automatically load more points and allowing it to be a little bit more efficient and not having to change that. Sometimes when you might get to a position where you have too many points, the software will become laggy. So using this new dynamic point display will actually make the software a little bit more efficient. Another one is the cloud brightness and contrast. So now we have the ability to change the brightness or contrast of each individual pixel. And what this will do is it'll just allow you, you'll be able to see some more of the details, or in this example here, some of the cracks or edges a lot easier without having to do any other filtering or sampling. So this is a nice tool that they added. One more visualization is this elevation-based rendering. We had the ability to do this previously, but now they made it where it's just a single point click, and we can view our point clouds with the this color scale here, so it's easy to identify points within an elevation range. This one I think is a pretty big one. So essentially this is a spatial sampling where you can just tell it to keep the details. This will be nice for, again, making your software be more efficient when you have hundreds of millions of points, to make it so you can view larger areas or more floors and not have any lag in the software. This also will make it more efficient if you want to sample down this data to go into another software. You maybe only need the edges or specific areas, and so this is just another way to do some sampling. So tying in with some of the SketchUp features, so now you have the ability right from our Scan Explorer utility, you can send models directly to SketchUp from Scan Explorer. So this again is just kind of enhancing the Trimble RealWorks and SketchUp workflow. I'll have one more topic that I'll show you here in regards to that on the next slide. So this shows that now we can also send models directly from Trimble RealWorks. So this is in our modeling 3D workspace. As we create line work or models, we can directly send that to SketchUp Pro. So not only from the Trimble RealWorks 3D model, you can also do it from the Scan Explorer. So we're seeing that it's easier to get our models right out of our 3D software like the RealWorks and put it into something that you might be a little bit more familiar with or have some other data in the SketchUp workflow. This is a new tool that they released in version 9. This is something that you had the ability to do before, but they basically just made a little bit more of a easy workflow. If you have objects or items that maybe you need to identify an absolute direction that they're aiming or an orientation, they just made a little workflow here. So this is something that you can just get this orientation, and then you also have the ability to save that and send that out as a report. Again, in the Scan Explorer, so just as a recap, if you aren't familiar with how the Scan Explorer works, this is the utility that you're going to use to sometimes bring out point clouds or an area of a point cloud and bring into Trimble RealWorks without bringing all of your scan data in. So they've further enhanced that Scan Explorer utility to now make it where you can actually design models or extract models and do 3D line work right inside almost a photo-based viewer now. So this is a nice enhancement. Catenary drawing tool. So this is new, and this is going to help you in a scenario where you need to do a line and it's not a uniform line that you may be used to working with. So you just pick 3 points along an object, and then it'll automatically fit that polyline to the point cloud. So this is a new tool. This is an enhancement, so EasyPipe now has a little bit more of a robust fitting, and one of the most notable things is how it's automatically following a pipe run with the point cloud. So if you look down on the bottom, your blue was how Easy Pipe would have calculated in the previous version, or in the new version, and in the red is the previous version, so it would almost straighten out a pipe if there was a small sag. So now you can retain a sag in a pipe if you want to keep that. So texturizing a mesh with a panoramic image. This was something, again, we had the ability to do before with maybe our older GX scanner or the VX spatial station, but with how like the TX5 or the Faro scanners capture their imagery, they're not orientated properly as it takes them. So now they've added that functionality where it can orientate the photos properly and overlay those on a surface that you maybe already have made. So if you make a surface from that point cloud data, you can overlay the picture on it then now too. There were some people that have requested the ability to make take all of the images that were captured with a scanner, and we can view them right here, you know, in like a planar view. But some people wanted to make that just be one image, and they would be able to store that. So now you have the ability to export that TZF scan as an image, whether it be black and white or with the color on there. They took a new, they extract corner utility now. So this is something that we could do previously, but they put it now in our registration or the target analyzer. So if you are running into a scenario where you don't have enough spheres or enough targets, and or you're not doing any sort of registration with planes, you can just add, click on a corner, and it'll help you extract out a corner, and you can use that as a new registration target. They also added some more scanner compatibility. So there might be some firms that are using multiple types of scanners, and so now it makes it easier to use Trimble RealWorks as your one-stop processing shop and modeling. So now you can bring in, as you can see here, some of the Regal, ZNF, or even some of your short-range, like dot product hand scanners, and you can bring all that data into one spot now. So that's a nice feature. Along with that, they've added some new third-party hardware support. So again, be able to bring in the Faro scanner data into here, data from Surphaser, some of the ZNF, and again, bringing in some stuff from RiScan or the Regal, bring in the PTX, and then now you have the ability as well to do the E57 import, PTX, and even bringing in LAS files. So those are the enhancements to the RealWorks. There's one new module that they also introduced, and this is called Advanced Tank. So this is specifically for calculating storage tank volume and creating inspection reports. So this is just a quick screenshot to give you an idea of what some of these reports can look like. They're obviously customizable. There's even a quick YouTube link on the Trimble RealWorks page that shows you, it's just a 4-minute video. It gives you an idea of how you can customize this if you want to take a look at it in more detail. But basically it's going to send out all this data in almost an Excel spreadsheet for you, and you can customize any of the units or any of that. So Trimble worked in with some other partners and in the tank calibration industry, and to see that there was a need for this product, so it's a specific workflow for inspecting tanks. When they did this, they basically made try to make a very efficient and easy to use workflow and help you automatically generate reports. It definitely does reduce the amount of time to perform a roundness or verticality inspection of a tank. So that's kind of your glossary overview of some of the RealWorks features. Again, there's over 40 new features. I wanted to touch on a few of them. And if you have any other questions, you can definitely reach out to us on that. I have one more thing that I want to cover and before I turn it back over here. And this is a new product. This is a M7V. This is a new platform for low-cost and efficient mobile data collection. Use the high-resolution photos to collect rich data sets and extract measurements through the Trimble Trident software. The Trident software is the same software that you'd use for mobile scanning applications as well. So this product right here essentially combines GNSS, cameras, inertial navigation, wireless comms, and flexible mounting configuration. They wanted to build something that would be compact, all-in-one, and easy to use, so they made it so it just has a wireless communication to a tablet, which would probably be inside your vehicle or in your lap, an ATV or something. And it's a one-button start and stop, easy-to-use software, and you can also see your images in real time, so that's often helpful to see what your range is or what the camera's line of sight are, so you know if you need to remount it or if you need to drive a site multiple times. And then you also get a 3D map of everything that was collected. This is just a sample of what some of the high-resolution 360-degree imagery is. This is it's a Ladybug 5 camera, so you will have full spherical view straight up and to all the different sides. As I said, this still uses the Trimble Trident workflow. So Trident now includes the enhanced support for the M7V and even the MX2 spherical camera. So it makes it even easier to visualize, interpret, and extract data out of this software. Some of the benefits are, reduce your project time, lower some costs, and give you greater flexibility. With that, I want to turn it over to Danielle. She can give you a little bit of a recap on Trimble InSphere.
Thanks, Dustin. There were some new announcements about InSphere, which is Trimble's cloud-based total solution. They didn't make improvements to all of the apps that are included in the solution, but there were improvements made to Teraflex, Data Manager, and Equipment Manager. So we're going to briefly go over that. Okay, within the Data Manager, the improvements that were made are that users can upload more data into the application to manage, search, view with other project stakeholders. You can import and manage TBC and TGO files, as well as KML shapefiles. They're all supported by the Data Manager, so you can view it together in one map. You can also now use the InSphere Data Uploader to import data into projects, create layer groups, combine multiple data layers together to keep project data organized, create locations, boundary polygons for your project to be easily identified. Within the Equipment Manager, you can manage all of your equipment in one place, whether it be via web, iOS, or Android. Also now you can manage and track non-Trimble devices, and it also includes added support for Net R9 GNSS receivers. You can put any piece of equipment into this Equipment Manager. You could even put trucks or shovels or anything like that that you want to track where it is at. Also, a new addition to the Equipment Manager, you can set up alerts for your service and maintenance. If you have a large fleet of total stations and you need to make sure that everything is kept up to date with your firmware, and if you need to bring it in to make sure it's calibrated, all of that, you can set up alerts so it'll alert you when you need to bring in that equipment. You can also assign the equipment to a specific location by selecting the location from a drop-down list. So if you had equipment out in North Dakota and you wanted to know if it moved out into Montana, you can set up an alert when the equipment would move from your designated location. Within Teraflex, which is the data collection side, or the data collection app within InSphere, now they've added another licensing structure. So you have Teraflex Basic and Teraflex Advanced. With Teraflex Advanced, you can update your data, upload existing data from shapefiles or KMLs, many different file formats, and bring it into the field for real-time updating. Once you import your existing asset,
I'm not sure what happened there. I think we lost Danielle's audio for a moment. I'll just kind of continue on the Teraflex side. So basically the biggest thing is this Teraflex Advanced ability to update existing data to the field. So you can send shapefile information to the user in the field. They can go ahead and do some data maintenance, data updating, and then in turn through that cloud-based InSphere platform, send that data update back to the office. You back with us?
Yes.
Okay, we lost your audio there for a moment.
Oh, no.
So I just kind of summed up the Teraflex Advanced there for everyone.
Okay, thanks.
Those are the main features, Danielle, thank you. Those are the main features from the InSphere updates with the Teraflex Advanced new app, the Equipment Manager and Data Manager. The last little bit of information that we want to cover here for just a couple of minutes is the state of UAS, so to speak. Recently, Trimble was granted an exemption for the Trimble UX5 fixed-wing aircraft, which you see on the screen there. I just want to note a couple of things because there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of rumor, information going around on what that really means and you know, who can use it and can I go fly a plane and that kind of thing. And I just want to note, a lot of people have said that the FAA doesn't really have any regulation over UAS use, but actually these exemptions are a public law and they do have regulations and they could fine people, things of that nature. So I just want to kind of dispel that rumor first and foremost. And they are the regulator of the unmanned aircraft systems, and Trimble is one of you know, less than 10 companies that have been granted this exemption. The first exemptions were granted were for the movie industry. So what does this essentially mean? Does this mean that everybody can go out and start flying these things? And then what is covered? So I just want to kind of ask some of those questions and answer them quickly in this short session. So first of all, what products are covered by this exemption? So I just want to dispel that the only product that is covered under this exemption is that fixed-wing aircraft UX5 that you saw on the previous screens. It has to be N-registered with the FAA, and it can only be that aircraft. They had to go through a very rigorous process with the FAA in Washington, D.C. to qualify this aircraft for that exemption. And so that brings in the next question is, so if this aircraft is exempted, can I fly it? And under this exemption, the only people that have been approved to fly that aircraft is Trimble staff. So I can't pick up a UX5, me personally, and fly it around my office building. It doesn't work like that. I also have to, or that person has to be either a pilot in command or a private pilot licensed individual with a third-class medical certificate. Preferably two people, one person watching the aircraft and then another person monitoring the device that's controlling the aircraft. And then there's also a training program that goes with it. And then where can the UX5 be flown? It can't just be flown anywhere within the United States. Just because a 333 exemption has been granted, you still have to submit a certificate of authorization or a COA with the FAA for every geographic location that you want to fly it, because there are basically flight restrictions in certain areas, especially around airports or sensitive areas. So you can't just fly it anywhere. So all geographic locations must be submitted under this exemption with the FAA in the form of a COA. So that brings up the big question, what can the average user do? We're going to cover this in a lot more detail in a webinar that we have scheduled for March 9th because there's a lot of questions about UAS flying, and we're hoping to have some of this exemption, these questions even answered in better detail by then, so we can provide more information. This exemption just happened within the last 30 days, so there are still a lot of questions that remain. But today, the average user, if you're a private, work for a private company, or you are a private company, you can apply for a 333 exemption as well. Or you can even apply for a 333 exemption with the Trimble UX5 exemption over a very specific geographic area. So, so again, that COA is required when you apply for that 333 exemption. You need to describe the area that you want to fly and what you're going to use it for. If you are a public agency, a city, county, state, federal agency, you can apply for a COA without the exemption. And again, keep in mind that it's very, very much based on geography. And then I'm just going to note here, and you can view this or write it down quickly. This website, I'm not going to go to it, but there's a GPS World article that was just out in the last publication of GPS World that kind of went through a lot of this stuff as well, covered it in great detail. And I just want to make sure that everyone understands, for the most part in this webinar, that the exemption doesn't mean that it's free reign, everybody can use a UX5 and fly it anywhere they want. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Now there are some, there is one thing that everyone should also be aware of in regards to this UAS stuff. The FAA has been given a date of September 2015, September of this year, to come up with a better, more defined set of rules and regulations on flying UAS for commercial use. And commercial use being, we're going to use that data that comes off the UAS for something to enhance our business or our clients or something of that nature. It's not a hobby. It's commercially used. So September, we're hoping by September of this year we have a little bit more clarity on everything that can be done with these UAS devices. But this is the state of it today. So with that, that concludes today's webinar on Trimble Dimensions 2014. I will go ahead and look at the chat window and see if there are some questions that are in there. I do have contact information here on the screen. A couple of questions that I see, and also we have some other individuals that are on the call that maybe can answer these or help answer these, because I may not be able to. What are the general capabilities of the drafting module of TBC? That was one of the questions. I will try to answer it. Jay's also on the call. I don't know if Jay can answer it better than me. Probably can. He's a TBC expert. But basically, the drafting module allows users to do drafting techniques. So we have a lot of customers that maybe use Civil 3D, but they only use it for drafting. So for instance, Trimble Business Center, you could drop your data in, you could draw a plat, a boundary, put in a plot for your title sheet and border and things like that, so you can plot out to a plotter. So you can do drafting type of workflows with that module. Jay, do you have anything else to add to that? And you're on mute, so you may have to unmute yourself.
There's my problem. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I was muted in two spots. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, the drafting module right now is basically for setting up sheets for plan sets. So creating a plan set with borders, title blocks, that type of thing. It's also for if you're doing like corridor work to create cross-section sheets, things like that. That's basically the brunt of it for making sheets and being able to plot them and things like that. A lot of the drafting tools, like the contour labeling and things like that, are all part of the standard 3 licenses. It's just the kind of the automated way that TBC builds sheets and cross-section sheets and things like that for you. It's kind of an automated process. That's currently what's part of the module.
All right, thanks, Jay. The other question that I see here is on the Equipment Manager. Notice there's stuff that is on, I'll kind of clean up the question maybe a little bit. Notice there's stuff that's basically viewed graphically on a map. How does the equipment get its position to be shown on a map? I have some information on that. I'm not sure, Danielle, if you're up to speed on the geography stuff. I know that the GPS and the total station is done through Trimble Access. So once it gets a Trimble Access position, it's plotted on the screen so that whoever is managing the Equipment Manager knows geographically where that piece of equipment is. There's other products out there that can be attached to the piece of equipment to give it a GPS position so that it can be shown on the map screen. But the biggest thing is so things are seen geographically. The users can manage the equipment, not only what do I have, because we have seen that issue in the past, people just not knowing what I have, but also where it's at. So what crew is it with? Where is it located? If I need to move an RH from this area to another area, can I do that? What's the most efficient one to do? Which ones aren't being used? Which ones are in my office? That kind of thing. So the geography portion of that Equipment Manager is a great tool. Hopefully I answered the questions. With that, I don't see any others. I think we'll conclude today's webinar. I do appreciate everyone attending. Hopefully you can attend some of those more in-depth informative webinars that we have scheduled in the future. You can go to our website, www.frontierprecision.com, and you can sign up for those free informational webinars, and hope to see you guys at one of the upcoming webinars. Thank you for the time today.